Hey Josh, it's good to be here. I appreciate you sitting down with me. This is Josh Barron and Marco Brown. I thought we'd get together and just have a conversation. Josh and I get together about once every, 4 or 6 months.
Yeah, probably we should do it more often.
I know we should. We absolutely should. We always have great conversations, so I thought we'd record one and just talk about law firms and advertising, marketing, and running a law firm, how to do it right, how to do it wrong.
My secret is you can be a bad lawyer as long as you're a good conversationalist. So
I think there's a lot of truth to it. Yeah. If you have conversations with your clients,
right,
you can be a mediocre lawyer and just fine.
Cool.
Exactly.
Well, you've got an admirable law firm.
Well, thanks. You too.
Thank you.
We send a lot of people over here.
Thank you.
For
We love your referrals.
Yeah. So tell me about your family.
Yeah, we've got a fun family story. So we have 11 kids, 2 biological, 9 adopted. And they're from 18, we actually have 3 18-year-olds to 2.
You have 3 18-year-olds all in the same, okay.
Yeah.
Are they all siblings, biological siblings?
They're none of them, all 3 of those are not related.
Okay.
None of them are at home right now either. They're all moved out. So.
Where are they?
One's at BYU, Idaho, one's in West Valley, and one is in Provo. So.
Does the house feel huge with 3 of them gone?
I feel like my wife's gonna just get some more kids here soon. I don't know. She hasn't disclosed that to me, but no, it doesn't feel huge yet. But one day. 8 kids at home, still not quite huge.
Nice. That's beautiful, man. So I mean, you know the story, but I have 2, and one is adopted, and then one is IVF, and it comes from a donor egg. So I always joke that I have 2 kids and only a quarter of which is mine. A quarter of one of them is mine.
Quarter of the children are yours. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. That's good stuff.
That's
though.
cool. It's a cool family.
Yeah. So how'd you get here? I mean, talk about your law firm for a second and kind of how you got to this point.
I mean, it was not the plan at all. I went to BYU Law School, and I never thought I'd do criminal, but I thought if I did criminal, I'd be a prosecutor. And what I really wanted to do was like go to Washington D.C. and like sleep on couches and be a legislative aide. And then I got married during my 3rd year of law school. My wife had a year of undergrad left, so we stayed, and I took the Utah bar, and I had to find a job, and so I got a job in Park City doing real estate litigation. And
I don't think I ever knew this.
it's the worst.
Okay.
Don't do real estate litigation in Park City. It was the worst. I hated it. Every minute I was there, I hated it. And so I was like, I'm just going to do the most different thing I can think of. And so I sent one application to the Salt Lake City prosecutor's office, got an interview. They offered me, and I was so miserable that I was like, I will accept under any conditions. Like, get me out of here. So I left the Park City, and I went to Salt Lake City prosecutors for a year, and met my business partner there, Joseph, and he started 5 or 6 months after I did, and then we left together to start a criminal defense firm. While I was a prosecutor, all the other prosecutors called me a defense lawyer because of like my offers and my attitudes about the case, and after a few months it became clear that they were right. And so I really enjoyed the year I was a prosecutor, and I'm glad I did it, but defense was very clear very quickly that I needed to do it on the defense side.
Okay. So Joseph was only there for like 6 months.
I think he was there for 8, and I was there for 14. I think that's roughly. He might have been there 9, something like that, though. Yeah, so not long. And so about, after he'd been there a couple of months, we were like, we both knew we were going to leave, and we wanted to do it together, but it was alternating. He'd be like, let's go, I can't handle it another minute. I'd be like, no, I need to figure out my insurance, or whatever it was. And then it would be switched. And then we got to the point where both of us were like, I'm leaving with or without you, and then we left at the same time. Yeah.
So what was the biggest anxiety producing issue when you decided to leave and do your own thing?
I mean, we had no idea how we were going to find clients, because we couldn't. I mean, I think the traditional way to do it is to work at a law firm, have some clients that you're working with, and then steal them.
Yeah, take them.
Which is, I mean, it's not even theft. It's like, it's allowed under the rules.
It's called lawyering.
Yeah. So we didn't have any clients. We had never tried to get clients. We had no experience in doing that, and so we just didn't know if any of the clients would show up. And so early on, we didn't have anything to do, and so I'd be, playing video games at my house at 11, and my wife would be like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I can play video games here at the office. And she was like, at the office, please. And so I would go to the office, and it was like right when Hulu launched, and so we got like a trial of Hulu, and one time we played like 36 games of chess in a row, and Joseph beat me every single time. and it just frustrated. But like we just didn't have anything to do. We didn't know how to make the phone ring, but we were trying stuff, and slowly but surely it kind of built itself up.
So what did you do at the beginning to make that happen, to get people in the door?
The first thing we did was send mailers to people who'd been charged with a crime. So the Utah court website has their address.
Mm-hmm.
And so Yosef...
Would you sit there by hand and go through the database every day?
And Yosef's not really a technologist, and so he didn't really know what like a mail merge was. And so he must have known what copy and paste was, but he wasn't. He was hand typing in each name and address. And so I was doing it at my house and he was doing it at his house, and one time I was bringing him envelopes or something and I saw him hand typing it in, and I was like, what are you doing? So I set up some mail merges for him. But yeah, we would go through it by hand, copy and paste it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then that would populate a mail merge, and then we would have to stuff like 100 envelopes a day. And it was, so for years, every day, at a certain time of the day, we would stop whatever we were doing and stuff envelopes.
That is amazing.
We had this little table in our office once we got in office that was almost all it was used for. And the top was covered with like the gum from when you pull off, because we stopped licking the envelopes because that was impossible. So we got the little peel, and when it pulls off, it takes a little bit of like the gum or the glue or whatever. So the whole table was just covered with that glue.
That's incredible. Every time I talk to people who open their own law firms, I think, how did they ever make it work in the beginning, right?
You just keep trying stuff, and so that worked. People started calling, and so we kept doing it, and if it hadn't worked, we would have tried something else. I think that's what, especially when you work at a big firm that has sort of a pipeline of you don't realize you can just keep trying new things until something works.
Yeah, you just tinker around.
Yeah, and you get pretty reliable feedback on stuff like that. Like you send out 100, and you do that for a week, and you send out 500, and no one calls. It's a pretty good indicator that you should stop doing that. It's not, I think you could talk to a statistician about whether it's statistically valid or whatever, but it's a lot. You've got a pretty good sample, and you need to try something else.
Yeah, I remember when I first started. It was 2010. I came here, and that was during the recession. No one was hiring. I just had to kind of find things. I think the most effective thing I did was I just went and had lunch with every lawyer I possibly could, because I didn't know any lawyers here at all. So I would just go and try to find as many lawyers as possible, and then I did the internet thing like right off the bat.
Yeah.
Got a website and started just writing content.
Uh-huh.
I would write content at 11 o'clock at night. I write content at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Like blogging?
Yep. Ugh. Just writing all the pages, doing all that stuff.
Do you guys still blog?
I still blog. It's kind of off and on for me at this point. I've been doing a lot more videos and then putting them on the blog. So yes, but they're in video format now.
I assume you wouldn't do it and you wouldn't be interviewing me unless you thought it worked, but
yeah, exactly.
Is it measurable, or do you just kind of like hope that once you've kind of built up the quantity of it that it'll do something?
It's mostly that. So I've never been the biggest ROI guy in the sense that I really track ROI really closely. I have a general idea of, I have an idea of what works, otherwise I'm not going to do it. But I think there's something to be said for just ubiquity in general. So you just do all of these things, and then you become so well known that it's impossible to trace how people came back to you.
That's cool.
But it still works.
Huh.
So that's a big idea nowadays, and at least in the way I think about it. So I just try to be ubiquitous.
Just be everywhere.
Yeah.
That's not how I think about that. Yep. It sounds exhausting to me.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
I have more content on my website than I am 100% sure than any other website, illegal website in Utah. Law firm website.
So we did the letters first, then we did some sort of experiments with Google initially, and then stopped. And then probably 6 months after that, we actually really went in on Google, and we're very dependent on Google now.
This is AdWords, right?
AdWords. We made a conscious decision though not to do any SEO. We just said we didn't believe. I think that somebody who really took your philosophy of we're just going to answer every question, that actually can work. That makes the internet a better place. But most of the sites we saw that were ranking high, it just wasn't making. Google was trying to think of how to stop that from happening.
Yeah, exactly. So they could advertise.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we just said we're just going to give them money and we're going to have like a pretty clear relationship with them and kind of know what the ROI is. It's very easy to measure, and so we just kind of made the decision that we're not going to do that. So we're not trying to play SEO. We don't rank for anything that I know of. If we do, it's by accident.
So not a lot of content writing.
No.
Not a lot of that stuff.
No.
Okay.
I mean, like the whole purpose of our website is to get you to call us.
Yeah.
Not to get you to the website doesn't really try to answer questions. Again, if it does, it's by accident. It's lack of discipline. Like I wish it didn't answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that it just said, "Here's why you should call us." And if you call us, you're gonna feel better, and you're gonna be less stressed out, and you're gonna have a plan. That's the whole thought.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it makes even more sense now than it did like 5 years ago. Because 5 years ago, you were super dependent on the website itself as an information center, and now people look at you on their phone and they see your number, and you just want them to call you. That is all you want to do, and
the
it's
longer
a
it takes
repository
them,
maybe, but you don't want them to spend huge amounts of time. You just want them to go through to the phone call.
And I think probably being on one end of that spectrum or the other is probably better. Like being in the middle where you have some content but not as much as Marco, it's like, why? What a waste of time. Like you're not getting anything from it. So either be the most or make zero. Just have like a one-page website that just is like, call me.
Yeah, but it's super effective at getting people to call. So what's your experience? On your website, do you have the little web form that people can fill out?
Yeah.
Does that convert for you at all?
Yeah. I hate it. I mean, because again, I can't sign people up by email. They don't. It never happens. But sometimes they email me and then I call them, and then so it takes a little bit longer for everything to start versus a phone call, which could start right away. So, if I could somehow get everyone who fills out the form to just call us, I would rather that. But if they're more comfortable starting by doing the form, that's fine. But it's not something we're pushing at all. I mean, it's there for the people that want to communicate in writing at the beginning.
I think what we found is that it probably catches some people, but the vast majority of people who leave a web chat or leave that email.
Oh, we don't do the chat.
Oh, see, we do the chat, but they do the web form, right? And then we try to call them back.
Yeah.
I think a large percentage, if not a majority, just never pick up.
Oh, really?
Right? And then getting them to come in is difficult.
No, I've had
it's so much easier if you just get them on the call.
Right,
first.
that's the primary thing, but a fair number of them, especially like if it's super late, like a lot of criminal defense attorneys will say, call us 24 hours a day, but you're talking to some answering service.
Yeah.
So if it's 2 a.m, they'll email me and then I'll call them during business hours and we'll get into a conversation. Everybody comes into your office basically, right?
Everybody
Unless
comes in.
they're out of
I made a
state.
conscious decision. I don't talk to people on the phone unless they live outside the state of Utah.
But people sign up over the phone.
Yeah.
So
Didn't you say it was like 90% or some insane number?
No, you might be thinking. You know who told me that number or something close to it was the Salcidos.
Oh, that's true because they don't meet with anybody.
They almost don't. They really try to get people to sign up over the phone. We're sort of agnostic, like what's ever convenient to the client. And something that's a little bit different from my practice area compared to like estate planning. I don't know for yours, but the decision window is so tight. They've got court on Tuesday and it's Monday.
So you have to do it now.
They need to know quickly if they like me. They don't have, they can't meet with 5 lawyers. Sometimes some people do, especially if they know they've got court in 7 weeks, but it's pretty rare. More often than not, they're just like, I need somebody, I need them now, and so we want to make that as quick and convenient as possible.
So your model is really built on the convenience and the immediacy of it all.
We don't have to create any urgency. Like when I tell them what the maximum sentence is for the case, like the urgency is good. It makes sense. So I never, I think that like if you were an estate planning attorney, the problem is like everybody needs it, but it's not urgent for anybody unless they're like dying.
Yeah. And
so you'd have to somehow create like a decision window for people. I never have to create a decision window. If it's important to them, then they know how quickly they need to act.
See, that's a tough thing in divorce, and especially the way we approach it, in the sense that I always tell people this: getting divorced is a decision between you, your family, and your God.
Right.
Like
right.
I don't know. I'm a legal technician.
Right.
I can get you through it, but I'm not going to tell you to get divorced. So I can't really push them that much. And
Right.
me trying to create that
It would feel
immediacy,
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost think it's unethical to do it, so I try not to, but you want people to get you to hire you anyway, and you have to thread the needle a little bit.
Yeah, it's a hard balance.
So thankfully for you, you don't ever have to thread that needle.
No, I mean, I guess if you're doing respondent stuff, you've got this long to file an answer, so there's no urgency needed there. But when someone's trying to decide if they want to file for divorce, and I wouldn't want to try to create urgency there.
No, I don't. I mean, I'll try to walk people through the process if they're on the cusp and it's a bad, horrible domestic violence situation and there's cheating or something like that. I'm like, well, what do you think's going to happen here? Are you really going to be able to go back to that?
Right.
And they'll say no. I say, okay, I think you probably made your decision, and I'm just here to kind of help you figure that out, right?
Yeah.
But I never try to push it on people because
and again, maybe because of my practice area, but like I never have to. I can be really sort of airy and just say, look, here's what it's going to look like, and here's what I can do, but no pressure. And they'll be, can I call you tomorrow? I need to talk to my wife. Great. In a lot of professions, I think I need to talk to my wife means no.
Yeah, exactly.
In mine, it doesn't. I mean, often they call back the next day and they have their credit cards and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So
in mine, it absolutely means no.
Does it?
Yeah, I mean it's
if it's your wife. I gotta talk to my dad. I don't know.
That's just a nice way of saying get off the phone. I don't like it.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about this. So, did you read any Clayton Christensen, The Innovator's Dilemma, or anything like that?
I got about halfway through that book. It was just not my jam. I never did finish it.
One of his smart things, really, really smart things, he has this problem where he gets hired as a consultant by a fast food restaurant to consult on their milkshakes. And their milkshakes aren't selling as well as they want, and so they have his company come in and look at it. And he has this great chapter, I don't remember which book this is in, but he has this great chapter on what are they really hiring you for. And so what they found on the milkshakes is that there was a group of people that wanted a really thick milkshake to drink on their commute into work or on their way back from work. That they wanted it to take as long as possible because they were bored and wanted that like chocolate and sugar hit periodically while they were driving, and it kind of just took up the time. And there was another group of people that were buying it as a treat for their kids that wanted the smallest possible milkshake that was as thin as possible so the dumb kids could drink it as fast as possible. Because if it was too thick, then they would be like yelling at their kid to hurry up, and it ruins this experience. So once they knew what they were hiring for, they could create a product that was right for each of them instead of creating a half product that didn't satisfy either one. And so like I've been thinking a lot about like what my clients are hiring me to do. And for years we thought they were hiring us to fix their criminal problem. But I've gotten more and more convinced that they can't tell if I can do that or if I am doing it. It's just too, what I mean? It's like going to a mechanic. Like I can't tell if you're a good mechanic or a bad mechanic. Or going to a doctor, I can't tell if you're a good doctor or a bad doctor. And so what I think they're really hiring me to do is to take away their stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
So they've got this case, they know it's coming up in 2 weeks, and they're stressed out about it, and they hope that by giving me money and signing a contract that they can now sleep easier, knowing that I'm worrying about it instead of them. So once we knew that, then we could create an experience that explicitly addresses that instead of something that's like halfway between that doesn't. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. And I want to talk to you about how that makes sense in specialization here in a second, but this makes total sense. I was listening to a lecture by Jordan Peterson the other day, and he was talking about this very thing. Like people don't, when you try to sell success to people, that's not what people actually want. In a lot, I mean, there are some people who are outliers, like Malcolm Gladwell outliers that want success, right? But the vast majority of people don't want success. They just want to not hurt anymore and not have anxiety. They want to be like in the middle of the pack, surrounded by a whole bunch of other people in the middle of the pack, right? So they want you to take away your anxiety, and that's a super effective method to close and to sell is, not trying to, like, your life is going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. Like, I am going to take away this anxiety you feel right now, because that's really what you want right now.
Right. And winning a criminal case isn't going to make you better looking or get you a promotion or anything, but it's going to avoid all these bad things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to make, and so that, again, that's not, it's like almost too easy to sell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's really a big problem. Not that many people call me and they're like, I mean, sometimes they do, but they're never a good client. Do I need a lawyer? Yeah, you need a lawyer. You're charged with homicide. Yes, you need a lawyer. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of an easy product to sell a lot of times because they need it so badly.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying is, I'm not going to make the half product. I'm going to make the product that sells to this group or to this group.
Right.
I think that has something to do with the specialization. You don't do anything else, right?
I only do criminal defense.
Exactly. And so if you did criminal defense and family law and real estate and personal injury, you would have to figure out how to sell all of these different things to all these different groups.
Right. I'm reading Range right now, though. Have you heard of this book?
Mm-hmm.
By David Epstein, I think. Whichever one isn't the child molester. Not that Epstein.
Who didn't kill himself.
Yes. But it's talking about how people with really broad experiences
mm-hmm.
can be super insightful. And that most of the breakthroughs happen from people who are dabblers, who do this for a little while and then do this for a little while. But they're a certain type of dabbler. Like, when they do this for a little while, they do this kind of all the way.
Exactly.
And then they get bored of it, and they do this for a little while, and they do it all the way. And then they get bored of it. Or they, so like in my case, like, I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I love playing guitar. I play, like, and so, like, that, I think, gives me kind of a little bit of a different perspective from someone else who doesn't have that hobby or that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, so the idea in Range is that just, like, being, like, a very, very narrow specialist who that's all they think about, you can make the trains run, but it's just, like, you're not going to create the new thing. But having, like, that broad experience. And so one of the examples he uses is Kepler, who, he's an astronomer before astrophysics is a thing, and he just, like, looks at the heavens and thinks about them and then makes these crazy analogies that are very insightful. Like, well, is the force that the sun is exerting on these distant planets, is it sort of like a smell? Is it sort of like a, anyway, so he uses these analogies that a person with less experience wouldn't have the vocabulary to make.
That's interesting, yeah.
So I know that you're a big fan of specialization, and
mm-hmm.
I think I'm more of a convert to it, but I only do this. But it also makes me think, like, I'm reading the book. I'm almost done with it, but I don't actually know what to do about it. I don't know how to become the rangy person that the book is talking about.
This is the way I think about stuff like that, because I am a big proponent of specialization. It's one of my rules. Getting paid is specialize as much as you possibly can, because you just command more money and you get better at the thing, and you have to think less about the thing because you've done it 1,000 times, right? Where I do the range part, so where I don't do the range part is in what I do, because I just do divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Where I do the range part is I read really, really widely, and I try to have those other experiences outside, so that I can bring them back in. Yeah, so I can bring them back in and apply them in what I do, but I don't dabble between two specializations in the law.
Right.
Like, I range way outside the law.
Right, so what Range says is that people who are specialists in what he calls kind learning environments, places where the same patterns come up over and over again, they tend to get better as time goes on. But if it's, I forget what he calls the unkind learning environments, like evil or something like that, something like where you might think that you're making progress and you're actually, like, you're going in the wrong direction, And so I think one of the questions would be, is divorce law kind or evil? I don't think that's the right word, but is it a place where patterns recur, you can get progressively better, it's a linear progression, or is it a complex, dynamic environment where things are changing a lot? I don't know. But then another question is the business of divorce law, that's almost for sure complex and dynamic.
Yeah, that is complex. Yeah. So the way I see it is divorce law itself is not static, but it's static enough that 85% of divorces are almost exactly the same.
Right.
Probably 90%. And then you have that 10% that you need to learn over time.
Legislative changes, new court decisions.
Exactly. So the vast majority of this is going to be pretty similar. Yeah. So you can have that linear progression. The business of law itself and the business of divorce law is really highly complex, and again that's where I range. Like, I read everything I possibly can about business to kind of and tinker a lot. Right. I try to tinker all the time and make that work and find things that function, and sometimes the experiments are just awful, right? They do not work and they're terrible.
They really don't.
Jody threatens to quit.
What's your worst experiment?
Getting paid every week.
Oh, you try to get paid every week?
Yep.
Send out invoices every week?
Yep.
Oh, man.
It was awful.
Wow.
Like, we only did it for like a month.
So does it increase the anxiety of the clients?
No, it doesn't increase the anxiety of the clients. The way I worked it was I dropped the retainer amount as a way to induce people to get in, and then I figured, okay, we have a lower retainer amount, but I'm going to bill every week, so it's not going to matter nearly as much. But the problem was that by dropping the retainer amount, we attracted the wrong type of clients. So we didn't get the higher quality clients, we got lower quality clients, and then we had way more problems getting paid. And then there's the administration of every Monday running all of the bills, and if they didn't, we had to go talk to the clients. It just did not work out well at all. The barrier for entry was just too low,
right,
is what it came down to, and it created all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
So we only did it for like a month, and then swore that I would never do anything like that again.
One of our worst experiences was we did this, I can't remember, but it was some kind of like Spanish language radio or something like that was doing this like festival with like a stage and different acts were going to come on, and they were selling booths at this festival, and I had been actually thinking that I wanted to try that. So we got this like spinner thing that you'd spin and you'd win one of a selection of prizes, and our gimmick was come and ask a lawyer a question. Well, the parents very smartly would stand on the opposite side and send their kids to come and spin the wheel. So I never made any connections with any adults about like that were going to be meaningful, helpful relationships. Instead, I was just giving candy to kids all day. And I think I stayed for like 2 hours, and I was like, this is clearly not working, and we took off. So
was it you and Joseph doing that, or just you?
No, it was me and one of our paralegals at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that stuff's great, right? When you think about it,
Like
most
$200.
lawyer marketing is just awful.
Yeah.
And it's a waste. And that's a waste, but at least you figured it out and then you got out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good question, why lawyer marketing is so bad. I think it is really bad, and I think it's often super ineffective. But
Well,
I just wonder what is causing that.
I think it's because I think again it goes back to this Jordan. I'm gonna invoke Jordan Peterson here in the sense that you just want to be in the middle of the pack, right? So at some point, somebody a long time ago started doing advertising in bar journals that was absolutely awful.
Now you're in the bar journal.
Exactly, and I want to change that, but they did it. It was absolutely awful in one way, and then everybody kind of did that thing. So everybody just wants to be in the middle of the pack. No one wants to be in the front of it or in the back of it to get killed, right? And we just do what other attorneys have done, even though it makes absolutely no sense. That bar journal stuff. Every time I've ever looked at a bar journal advertisement, I just think to myself, this is a vanity plate. This is you putting on a photo of you talking about how cool you are, and it has absolutely nothing to do with me whatsoever.
It depends on what the constituency is. Like, so if, like, let's say you're a big law firm and one of your attorneys wins some great appellate case, and you want to, and so the message is to your employee, associate attorney, whatever, who won the case, like, hey, you did a great job on this, and I'm going to tell all of your peers. That probably works pretty well. Don't you think?
Well, I think it works pretty well. It doesn't work well as an advertisement.
No, but as a way to tell
as a way to tell,
like
to
internal
signal
marketing.
to
your
the
own
employee
employee
that they're great as a retention model.
Yes.
Right? It does not work for advertising in order
Right.
to gain new clients, though.
Right, but you're in the bar journal.
Yeah, because
Why?
I don't possibly care that happened, right? That doesn't
But why are
do
you in the
anything
bar
for me.
journal?
What's that?
But why are you in the bar journal?
Why am I in the bar journal?
Uh-huh.
Because I hopefully figured out a good way to advertise in the bar journal that is a kind of other focused.
So you want to have the most different ad in the bar journal.
Yes.
And you do. Did you set up a separate number for that? Like, are you going to track how many phone calls come from that ad?
I track the sources of the referrals, and I'm never going to know if they specifically came because of that bar journal, but I can probably figure it out because I've just never met them before, maybe. But it's hard because you
what
you
it
meet
might
them
do
at some
is-
other places, and then they see that.
And then
So
it
I'm never
could
really
be that.
sure, but you can. I'm going to be able to tell if there's a real uptick in the referrals that come through.
Yeah. Speaking of referrals, you recently published on LinkedIn, I think, your sort of breakdown of like what percentage of your business came from what sources, right?
Yep.
Do you have like a target? Like, what do you think for maybe it's hard to make a general, but what % would you like to come from organic referrals, not advertised based referrals, but like other attorneys who've interacted with you because obviously you want to be ubiquitous, not just in paid channels, but you're giving CLEs, you're at the pro bono calendar, you're doing all these things partly so that everybody knows who you are.
Sure. Yeah.
So what % do you want to be that sort of organic referral? Do you want it to be 100%? Would that be healthy?
Great. No, that's not healthy. Organic referral, I think if we could get it to a 50-50, and I'm just making a number up in my head, but
You're 15-ish% right now?
20.
20%. That's
yeah. So if we could get it to a 50-50, I think that would be amazing, because what that would represent would just be a massive uptick in new clients.
Right, because your margin,
it's additive, it's not subtractive.
Right, your margins on the referrals are probably fantastic.
Yeah,
compared
absolutely.
to the cost of acquisition for the advertised.
Yeah. If we could get it to 50-50, it would be absolutely amazing.
If only. I mean, I know some people who are 100% referral, and they swear by it. And I'm probably worse than you. I'm probably like 15% referral, and I wish I was 50-50 so bad. It would be so great.
It'd be so great.
My life would be, well, my life would probably be
you think your selling is easy now.
I know.
Like, it's so much easier if it's a referral.
If it's a recommendation from someone they trust.
Yeah, you don't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
At that point. Now, I think 50-50 would be great, and we're trying to get there. That's one of my big things is I just want to get in front of all the attorneys in Utah in order to be that and really serve them as much as possible, right? If you ever have a question about divorce, like, just come talk to me, and I'm never going to ask for a referral, but I want to be the ubiquitous person out there. So when you think about
I like that. I never want to ask people for stuff. It's miserable.
I've never asked for a referral from anybody.
I have, unfortunately. But like,
oh yeah, you were telling that story during the CLE, and I remember that because I thought, boy, that must be awful, because I've never done it.
But I think like it was sort of just like a social pressure of like, you know, people who care ask for referrals, and so I thought I had to. But if I had taken like 5 minutes to reflect, I would have thought, no one wants that call. No one wants to be called and asked for a referral. It's the worst. But you know what I actually will ask for as a referral is, if you knew someone that I wanted to be introduced to, I would ask you, hey, would you mind introducing me to that person? I'll buy you both lunch or whatever. I would totally ask you for that. And if you asked me, I would feel great about you. I mean, I wouldn't feel put out if you asked me for that, especially if it was somebody that I knew really well. Yeah. And if I didn't know them really well, I would say, I don't know that person very well, I won't introduce you.
That's kind of different though, right? That's a connector thing.
Yeah.
That's like, you want to be the connector and you want to be a super connector.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense, but that's qualitative. To me, that's qualitatively different than asking for somebody, say,
give me
hey,
clients.
Give me your next door neighbor and send them into my office so I can get them divorced.
Yeah.
That's just an awkward conversation to have.
Yeah. And they're going to refer to the best person they think that they can send it to. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, if you haven't proven that you're that yet, why are you asking?
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's never been my model. My model has always been, I just want to get to know people, and I thankfully really enjoy my colleagues.
Yeah.
And I think you do too.
Yeah.
You just enjoy
some more
the
than
people.
others, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you really, on the whole, enjoy them.
Yeah.
And you want to get to know them, and you want to be of service to them, and just answer all of the questions and just be around.
Can I ask you if you don't have to answer this, but what kind of growth have you seen in referrals? So you're at 20% now. Do you know what you're at the year before? So I assume that was 2019, right?
I think it's been pretty static, which is
that kind of bums me out because you spent so much energy.
Well, I mean, it's static in the absolute numbers, right? In the sense that the numbers of referrals have gone up, but so have the numbers of clients. Okay. So the absolute numbers
have gone up. Do you know what kind of percentage growth you've had year over year?
About 25.
That's
last year was about 25. Yeah.
So you're 25% more referrals this year than last year.
Yeah, I want to say that's probably correct.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, because it's something that's, you know, with Adwords, you can go from, you know, 5 clients a year to 50 clients a year. You just put more money into it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no organic, you know, but with referrals, it's an organic process. Relationships have to be built. They take time. You can't rush it, you know. So you just have to wait.
Yeah, you just have to put in massive. It really is a lot of work.
Yeah. To
do it, but I don't see any way of getting around the work anyway, and it's the best work you can do. It's by far the biggest ROI that lawyers will ever have. I was on another site. on Facebook. I'm part of a group called Maximum Lawyer, and they have a lot of very, very good attorneys on there. And I posted my breakdown, and the breakdown was about 76% of our referrals come from attorneys,
right?
And then everything else is like way, way lower, obviously. So there was another attorney on there. He's a person in Florida. He said, "Oh, I think you need to have. I think you really need to kind of broaden that out and have it from a bunch more sources and a lower percentage." And I thought to myself, no, I don't think so. Because I mean, there's the power law, right? You're always going to have.
Once you've identified the best source,
you're always going to have one input that is way better than all the others, and that's perfectly fine. And it's not like we're a monolithic group as attorneys either. I'm not getting a whole bunch of referrals from other divorce attorneys. I'm getting referrals from real estate attorneys, PI attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, estate attorneys. And we just have nothing to do with each other. So it's not a monolithic group. It's a whole bunch of little splinter groups that you kind of go after. So there's not much of a chance that if one stops referring, that the other ones are going to stop referring.
So you feel like you're diversified, even though to that attorney it looks like you're not. It's just one, all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Do you say at the beginning of the week, I'm going to do this many of this type of activity, or do you just kind of how do you plan to make sure that you're doing enough to keep the fuel going into that engine? Like, what do you consider your seeds, and how do you make sure that you're planting enough of them?
I'm going through a transition process with this. I've been this year I'm cutting down the number of books I read, so I can focus more on the ones that I really, really enjoy and I really got a lot out of, and just kind of mining those.
Man, I've been telling you to do that for a long time.
I know. So I did 104 last year, which I loved, and 98, and there's a 98 the year before. So I've limited myself to 50 this year. I'm gonna read 50 books. And I'm rereading The Black Swan right now by Taleb.
Yeah.
I already read Fooled by Randomness.
Is that the newest one?
No, Skin in the Game is the newest one.
Skin in the Game is the
one. So I'm just going through the entire Incerto series. But one of the first books I read this year was The One Thing by Thomas Keller, I believe. And it is amazing. So I'm transitioning to try to do that more often. But in answer to your question, I actually have a piece of paper that I look at every day that has my most important tasks on it. And I try to go through and do all of those things. And one of those things is contact 3 people for networking, which is essentially you either just call them on the phone and talk to them, or invite them out to lunch, something like that. But I try to do at least 3 a day.
Because referral cultivation might be not a kind learning environment, because it's so complex and dynamic that you might think this activity is leading to referrals when it turns out that this other thing is like, do you know what I mean? Like, it might take you a long time to figure out that the thing you're doing is not actually leading to the result you want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, so that's what I've been thinking about, is just like, it's just hard to know what's working. When I do AdWords, I know what's working. When I do letters, I know I can give you within 0.1% what's working. And then in referral kind of relationships, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, you just don't know. You can't judge it as much. And so what I try to do is I try to take, and we've already talked about it, I try to take more of the ubiquitous approach. But when it comes to AdWords, I know AdWords work, and AdWords accounts for about 80%. AdWords and SEO account for about 80% of the new clients that come in. So there's a lot of time and money spent on cultivating that and getting that right. And then these other things that I want to be a higher percentage, you just have to realize that it's going to happen at some point. You just got to put in the work. Because since the time of Cicero, we've been getting referrals. That's how we all make money as attorneys. And I don't think it'll ever change, right?
I like how you started it at Cicero. He invented it.
No. I mean, it was before that, right? And I'm sure it went back to lawyers in Greece and whatnot, but really that's how lawyers have done it ever since the beginning of lawyering, and I don't think that'll ever change. So I spend a good amount of time doing that as well.
Is the mixed motives problem an issue for referrals? If you're sending someone a thank you note or something, and you know that in your heart part of the reason you're doing this is to cultivate a relationship that could be beneficial business-wise, does that detract from the power of the note, or versus if it was just I just have no expectation or even desire. Does that make sense? Do you think there's a mixed motives problem?
I think there can be a mixed motives problem depending on who you are. There's not one for me because I believe in walking and chewing gum at the same time. Like I'm totally fine with that.
Like you care about this person as a person is walking, and chewing gum is that they might send you business in the future, and
Yeah, exactly.
you would still do the nice thing for them even if they weren't going to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way I think. Well, like when I sit down and I handwrite notes, which I do, and I hate because my handwriting looks like a 5-year-old. It is the worst process ever for me, and I still go and I do it, and sometimes I think through that, like, why am I doing this? And what I try to do is, would I do this thing if I never got anything from this person? And if I answer yes, then I write the note, and I just make myself realize.
Really, you hate writing notes? Then, like, there's no way you would do it if it wasn't getting a return. If you knew it wasn't going to get a return.
No, I don't believe that. So I would do it. I would do it to make the other person feel good. Like,
Okay.
Am I making their day better? Yes. Is that? So I do it because of that. And then, does it make it more likely that this person will also send me business? Yes, but that's not why
That's
I
secondary.
do it. Right.
Yeah.
That's
so
the way
the
I
weirdo is the one who does it, and you can tell the only reason they're doing it is they want something out of it.
Exactly. And everyone hates that person.
The worst.
So just don't be that person.
I know.
It's just not that hard not to be that person, though.
But does that person know they're that person, or would they?
Oh, I think they totally know they're that person. I absolutely, every person that you've ever felt that way, like you can just feel it, right?
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, unless they are literally psychopathic, suffering from sociopathy, they know it, and almost nobody does. It is suffering from sociopathy.
Let me pitch you a counter idea, though. Like, so you talked about Pareto, I think a second ago, the Pareto Principle, and so like, what if you said, okay, these are the networking activities that I'm best at, that I love the most. So rather than trying to be good at all of the networking activities, I'm just going to do these ones that I love and that I'm the best at. Why do the ones that are like pulling teeth?
Yeah, there's something to that.
What's your favorite networking activity? What do you enjoy the most?
Going out to lunch and
There you go. Like, what if you literally had 2 lunches every day?
Yeah.
And had breakfast and like, if you like it the most. And
Yeah.
I think too, like, that might showcase you at your best. Somebody who doesn't love writing, you're great at writing, but maybe you're not the best thank you note writer because you don't like it as much. But maybe you're the best lunch companion or best breakfast companion. So why not just do more of that and less of the other thing?
Yeah. I mean, there's no, I'm not going to argue with that. I think that totally.
I've convinced you.
No, I think it totally and completely makes sense. So the reason I don't do like 100% of that, I should do more of that. And probably one of the reasons I don't is because I'm kind of unfocused, right?
Yeah.
I'm always trying to get better at
Right.
focusing. But one of the reasons I don't is to find what else may work as well,
That's true.
right?
Right. What was I reading? I think it was Atomic Habits was talking about like an exploration phase and an exploitation phase.
Mm-hmm.
So you explore, do I like this or not? Am I good at it or not? Does it have a return or not? And then once you find the thing that works and that you like, then you're just like, bam, you invest in that thing.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean you don't have a couple of feelers out there to explore more things at the same time.
Yeah, I always think you have to broaden that horizon and see tinker essentially. So it's the idea of tinkering. Lee Rosen talks about this though, that what you should do in marketing is what you like to do, because it's what you will do.
Right.
So it's like working out. I hate running. Running is the worst of human activities.
Right.
And
you like lifting. So
I lift heavy objects and I put them down because it's what I enjoy.
So why not?
So that's all I do essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't do anything else. But I'm not a tinkerer in that way. I've just figured out what I like there, and I just
but
don't
you
care
did at
about
one
it
point.
enough.
At one point, you were trying different things, and you found out you don't like running, not from reading about it, but from running and going, "This is terrible. I don't want to do this anymore."
Yep.
So I just wonder, I've been thinking about that too. It's just like, why am I trying to put myself into situations, spending all this effort to put myself into a situation that I don't even enjoy? Why not spend all that effort to only do those kinds of activities that I'm circling my calendar on that day? Oh, I'm so excited that this day I get to do blank.
Yeah, and I think we should do more of that. In fact, I'm gonna kind of try to double down on some of those things. But,
so you can throw away all your thank you note cards. You can just get rid of them
No,
now.
that'll never. Thank you.
But maybe
that'll
not do
never
as
happen.
many.
That'll never happen because Teddy Roosevelt used to write thank you cards like mad.
But maybe he loved thank you notes.
I know.
So, I'm sorry for taking this over and forcing you to answer all these cross-examining.
No, it's great. So talk about talk about AdWords for a second. I know, so you use them and I use them. I think I use them to a certain degree. You, I think, probably like 4x how much I use them though. They're really like your lifeblood, aren't they?
Which stinks.
Because you have to rent that racetrack from Google every month.
Yeah, and it's an auction. And Seth Godin recently pointed out in a podcast that like if you auction a piece of real estate that's a really nice piece of real estate in New York City, like on 5th and 40th, I don't know, but
drives up the price.
Then the only person who makes money is the seller. Whoever buys it is willing to pay just like the marginal price. Like, so the Starbucks on 42nd Street in New York is not that much more profitable than the one on 6 South in Salt Lake because the price of the real estate eats up all of the other profits. They'll pay up to the marginal value.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the problems with an auction. And so it seems that with referral relationships, if they're genuine and the people really trust you, that's something that you can own a lot more versus every month I have to go back to Google and say, please will you give me clients, here's a bunch of money. And they're like, no, we won't take it. And, I don't know, every month. But the good part of it, I mean, the part I can't complain about is it's worked really well and we've made a good living at it, But yeah, it makes me a little bit anxious. We're highly dependent on Google.
Yeah.
If Google tomorrow banned me, I would have to make drastic changes. Please, Google, don't ban me.
I think you pay them enough money, they're not gonna ban you.
I don't know. I mean, they're worth $1 trillion. Do you think that
Well, that's true.
They can do what they want.
Yeah, that is I think that's just something we need to understand as lawyers, is that if you're going to advertise, if you're going to advertise in any meaningful way, you're going to advertise on Google.
Well,
it's just how it's
I don't think of Google as the same as certain other, so I think we divide advertising in our brain between awareness advertising and direct advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So a billboard or a bar journal ad or all of that is awareness. We try to have the discipline to never do awareness advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And then direct advertising is measurable. It's at the decision point. We try to, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it on that side.
Yeah.
It's not to say that I've in the past said awareness advertising is wrong. It's not wrong. It's just wrong for a lot of people, including me. But
yeah, I think direct advertising is by far the way to go. What you want to do is advertise at the most granular level humanly possible. Right?
So that's what direct mail is really good for that.
Yeah,
because you know exactly who you're sending it to. If you do a billboard, you don't know who you're sending it to. Mm-hmm. You're sending it to a huge audience of people who don't have any need for your product. It's just a definition. Unless you sell Coca-Cola or clothes or something that everyone needs, and we don't. We sell a very niche product, and so I'm gonna look for the tightest possible fit between who I'm talking to and who can use the thing.
And I've always done the exact same thing. Our bar journal ad is a departure from that. It's really our first departure from that.
It's an experiment. I think it's cool to tinker. It probably wasn't that much money.
No, it's not.
Compared to what
in the scheme
you
of things,
spend on AdWords.
It's not at all. And it's interesting because it's awareness advertising, but it's also directed toward the referral
It's not
source.
to everyone. It's to a pretty tight group of people that you care about.
Yeah, so I'm watering concrete a little bit, but then you go on I-15 and you see billboards and you're just thinking, boy, you're just watering all concrete. That's literally
another
never
challenge with
anything.
awareness advertising. I don't know where I've gotten this model. This is how I think about it. Is that there is some point at which you break through,
mm-hmm.
but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep spending until you break through, but you won't know in advance if that's a number that you can live with. Does that make sense? So if you're the third, if you're the personal injury attorney in Utah who spends the third most, you should probably spend 0. Do you know what I mean? You should be 1 or 2. They're probably getting all the bang for their buck. And if you're 3rd or 4th or 5th, it's what were you even?
Just don't spend.
It was a waste.
Yeah.
But finding out how much it takes to get to, I guess you could make a guess in a market that big. But if you want to be, how much money and time it takes to become a known, in the general public, it's such a mystery that you just have to keep spending and hoping that you're getting there, and it's just hard to know where that break point is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that unless you're number one in a market, then don't spend on that sort of stuff at all.
Yeah.
The one thing you can do if you want to do awareness advertising on kind of a bigger scale, because you don't know how much it's going to cost, is to do things that don't cost.
Right.
Right. So social media is great for that. YouTube.
Really?
These places, because you can spend your time and create videos.
What does it cost?
Things, but the cost is really
that's
negative.
to Levian. Known downside: the cost of making the video, time cost.
Yep.
And it could go viral. It could do all these cool things. So probably isn't, but you know what your downside.
Exactly. So if you are going to do that sort of stuff, just go with the lowest cost option that has the largest distribution, and think about it like that.
I mean, social is an interesting thing for attorneys. I think sometimes attorneys think of social as like broadcasting. Do you know what I mean? We still kind of have like a TV or radio mentality, but it's social. It's called social for a reason. Like it's about building a community and interacting with people and those kinds of things. No one wants to build a community around a criminal defense firm. No one wants to say that when I was charged with my rape case, go on and comment on it. So it's not really a good candidate for. I mean, you could broadcast possibly, but it's not going to really be social. And so some practice areas might lend itself to it.
PI does, I think.
Do you think?
I think so, because I got in a car wreck and my life was really bad, and this guy really helped me out, or I had these problems. Like that's maybe different than
for some people though. It might be
I was charged with child pornography or something, right?
But for some people, it might be the worst moment in their life in terms of the pain they were going through. Maybe it led to a divorce. Maybe they got a DUI afterwards because they were so stressed out. So it's like this worst moment in their life. So I think it lends itself a little bit more than criminal defense, but I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask a personal injury attorney.
Yeah.
Because I one time asked a personal injury attorney just to kind of learn a little bit more. I said, what if you sent someone like flowers on the anniversary of when they got their settlement check? And they said, no, they would hate that because they don't want to remember that. They don't want to commemorate that. And I was like, that's helpful.
I wonder if that's the case, though, to be honest.
It's testable.
It is. I think it is testable. Just do it like 10 times. Right?
you will find out.
You're going to figure it out. But that's the thing. They don't test that. They just think, that kind of stinks. I mean, it's the same with me. So one of the things we do is we send out cards on Thanksgiving and
recipe cards.
On 4th of July, and they have recipes on them. And every once in a while, we will get an ex-client who will call and say, "Please don't ever talk to me again. This was the worst time of my life. I don't want to hear from you." And it's like one out of every cycle of however many hundreds of those things we send out every 6 months.
That surprises me. I would have thought it'd be higher.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point, is that we all kind of catastrophize in our mind, and then we actually do it, and it's not nearly as bad as we think it's going to be.
I mean, I thought I was for a while. I was like, I don't know if I can find any good ideas from attorneys right now, and so I was listening to podcasts and things from people who are like in service businesses but not lawyers, just because I was like, I already know what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
And I was listening to this like financial planner kind of person. He was saying that when they finished like a retirement plan, I think is what they would do. They would give the person a really nice like carving knife with their name engraved on the knife.
Yeah.
In its own block. I think that's what they would say. They might have engraven their own name, which I think is super tacky, but like the law firm name. But anyway, it was like this like really useful, long-term useful thing that
they
was
will
like
use
to commemorate that they made this plan and this sacrifice for their families and good for them. And I thought, oh, that's cool. Yeah. But I can't give my clients knives because then my gifts will be murder weapons, and like that's not a good idea for my client.
I can't either because mine would become murder weapons.
That's true. So I've been trying to think of, like, I don't know, like, is there a way? So I think a lot about the end of our relationships with our clients. So usually what happens is we get to court. A lot of times we don't know it's going to end that day, but that day the prosecutor makes the right offer, or something happens, and okay, we're done now.
Mm-hmm.
And the clients are often like so relieved. They're so happy, like, oh, thank goodness I never have to see you again. I never have to come back to court. This is so great.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, is there a way for me to like make that final moment, that end moment, a little bit more meaningful or cooler? Should I send them flowers? What do you think? What could I do? I finished like a DUI case. What do I do to end that relationship on a high note? Do you guys think about that with your clients?
Not nearly enough. No. This I don't do a good job at, and I need to do a much better job at it. I think you just plan it out, and then you experiment with it, right, and see what it is.
Yeah.
I think at the very least, you're like texting them as they're driving away from the courthouse.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations.
Yeah, great. You
Yeah.
know, do that sort of thing. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a minimum. I don't know what else you do.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure we could sit here and come up with ideas, but then you just have to work
Try
on
it
it
and see which one
if it
works.
functions.
Yeah, like what if you 2 days later sent them a copy of the docket, you know, with a handwritten note.
Frame it, right, or something, something like that.
Again,
You
no
have
one
those
wants to
framed non-guilty
commemorate.
ones outside.
Yeah, I want to commemorate. They want to forget about it. They want to
Yes.
expunge it. They want to seal it. They don't want to.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Or take a video of you burning the docket and send it to them.
That would not fit my personality. It would be authentic, but it's a cool idea for someone.
Yeah, right. Like it doesn't. It doesn't. But that's what they would want to see. I can imagine that's exactly what they would want to see.
Yeah.
Like this will never exist.
Hey, here's your file. Here's all the police reports. Here's the CDs. Into the furnace.
Here's some gas. And just light it on fire.
Theatrical at the very least.
Yeah,
That's cool. That's a good idea.
That would be interesting. Yeah, we don't do a good job on the back end of clients, ex-clients, right, and really keeping in touch with them. We do it a couple times a year, but I really need to have a much better way of keeping in touch with them and giving them more information and value as time goes on.
I mean, I think that most of your referrals don't come from your clients.
No, about 12%.
You know, it's not nothing. Thank goodness
Mhm.
for that 12%. That's probably the difference between you guys being super profitable and being like, you know, but probably like what you should spend more effort on is that relationship with other attorneys, you know?
Yeah.
Like, do you get newsletters from attorneys in subject matter? They're like subject matter newsletters, like a bankruptcy update.
No, I get them from financial planners.
I get some from attorneys that I'm like, why would I read that?
Exactly. If you're going to do it, and I've thought about the newsletter thing in the past 2 or 3 months, and thinking a lot more about this. If you're going to do it, it has to be extraordinarily well done. It has to have lots of pictures, and it's got to be interesting and kind of relevant to whoever, and it has to be personal as well. Like there's got to be something about you or something about an employee that's kind of interesting. It can't just be, here's a case that came out.
No.
Thanks.
Oh, right.
Like, who cares?
Do you get any newsletters that you look forward to? Maybe not from lawyers, just like any newsletters.
No.
I get a couple. There's this one called For the Interested by Josh Spector.
Mm-hmm.
It comes every Sunday morning. It used to be 10
Email
ideas.
or email?
Email.
Okay.
It used to be 10 ideas. Now it's 5, and if you want the other 5, you have to pay for them.
Okay.
I'm glad that it's down to 5 because I feel like I have 5 pieces of homework that I have
And
to do.
10's too many, right?
It's a lot,
It's just
right?
Too many. Yeah.
But there's something about just like his aesthetic. It's often on topics that I've been thinking about and I'm curious about. And I see, even if I don't read it, I'm like, that's cool. Thanks, Josh Spector. That's the guy's name. Thanks for sending me that. You know, that's I think kind of the minimum for a newsletter. It has to be something where when the receiver gets it, they're like, oh man, I'm so excited to have that in my inbox. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's got to be extraordinarily well done, or no one's gonna care.
Could be, but I mean, I think sometimes though we create the obstacle for ourselves that like we're not going to do it until it's perfect, and then we don't have a chance to tinker to find the one that people like. But
yeah, that's true. But you have to actually tinker with it because
Yeah.
most newsletters I see are this. Some guy in like the 80s or 90s decided to do a newsletter and then pawned it off to the office manager or paralegal who literally doesn't care about it whatsoever.
right,
But they've been doing it since the 90s because it's the thing they do, and they think it somehow works. And
But like, what if you sent a newsletter to lawyers that wasn't about family law at all, and it was just stuff like your 8 rules for getting paid, or you know, like it's like actionable advice for those attorneys.
Yeah,
which is
I've thought about
full
it.
disclosure, something that we're trying. So we just sent out the second one today.
I got it.
You must have done. You didn't read it.
I read about half of it.
Oh, that's nice. If you opened it, I'll take it.
No, I opened it.
What did you think? You can criticize it in front of these numerous cameras.
I'm honestly trying to remember what it was because I think I was reading it while I was in the car.
The clockmaker.
Oh yeah, and how it was a big advance in technology and so forth. I think what happened is I got halfway through and I didn't read the entire thing, so I don't think I got the full point.
That's totally fine.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Like, I remember that Josh Barron sent it to me.
Right.
And I remember saying,
Once I prodded you, remember? Once I
no,
told
I
you.
totally remember it. No, and that, and that's a part of it too, is the very fact that you kind of get up there on top of mind. And it was interesting enough that I thought of you.
Right.
But most newsletters that get sent out, like, I don't even know who the person
Well, I've asked some people, like, why do you, people that I trust, why do you send this subject matter newsletter? They're saying, I don't know what else to send, and I want my name to be in your inbox just to remind you that I exist. And I was like, okay, if you're clear on that, it accomplished the objective. Every time I get it, I go, why is he sending this to me and archive it? But, yeah, that's interesting. Good focus group. I read half of it, did not know what the point was. There we go. That's very helpful.
I kind of extrapolated it out, but not really, because again, I'm reading it in the car.
That's okay.
And I think that's a big thing. That statement right there, I'm reading it in the car, is something that we as attorneys need to realize.
Were you driving?
No, I think I'd parked. and I was just going through my email.
Huh.
But the reading the phone in the car thing is what we need to understand, because
no one's reading it on desktop.
Nobody reads it on a desktop, and no one looks outside their car. Like, you put yourself on a billboard. Like, who cares about a billboard? People take their phone
at every
to
stoplight.
the crapper with
every
them.
stoplight there.
Exactly. So do literally everything, and I'm trying to get this way. Do literally everything that you can look at it on the phone in snippets and make it simple.
Right.
And that's how you're going to get people in the future.
Right. Because mine might have been too long. Like, you didn't want to get all the way through it. And so
I have a hard time reading substantive things on it.
If it's on the phone, you gotta make it short. Did you ever read any Neil Postman? You would love Neil Postman.
I know that name, but I don't know why.
One of his kind of famous quotes, and is that the medium is the message. You think that you can, there's this new medium, and I'm going to be able to put the same message on it. You can't. Whatever medium it is transforms all of the messages on it into that medium.
Yeah, that's true.
So television makes every message a television message, and your cell phone makes every message a cell phone message. You have to just kind of understand that.
Yeah.
And don't try to send TV messages on cell phones. They just can't work.
And if you're not good at one medium, then just don't really
That's
do
what
it.
I'm
Like,
saying.
I don't get Twitter.
I don't get Twitter.
Like, I'm on there because there are some people, like Nassim Taleb is on it, and I think he's super funny on Twitter, so I follow him. But I go there to read stuff from experts.
You're not like trying to wisecrack on the latest whatever.
Yeah, but I'm just not good on Twitter. I'm way better on Facebook. Like, it's just a much better medium for me.
Because we're old guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not. I don't get Instagram. Like, I have Instagram. I kind of like to. I like guitar Instagram, so I like looking at guitar videos and people doing crazy things with guitars. But I'm not like posting and getting followers, and I'm just, you know what I mean. Like, I'm a loiterer on Instagram.
I'm the exact same way. So I go, and there are some restaurants in Italy that post photos and videos of how they make their food, which I find amazingly fascinating. And then there's somebody who has a profile named Nature is Metal, and it's literally, it's so amazingly cool. It's just animals eating each other and killing each other. I grew up in Alaska. This is my deal.
That is not what I thought you were going to say.
Oh my goodness! But he has literally the best videos. So I just go on there and I look at that, and that is all I do. But our friend Jacqueline Roberts, we both know Jacqueline. Robertson, sorry. She and her paralegal Marie do an exceedingly good job on
videos
on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, they really do. She gets a lot of very good clients from it.
No offense to Jacqueline, they started out not being very good, and they've gotten much better.
Yeah.
I think it's like so. I think a lot of times we're afraid to like start, and what if it's not perfect? People are going to think I'm the worst. No, I mean, everybody's, and now they're really great. And she never could have gotten great if she hadn't. I'm so afraid of that early stage. I need to be bolder about that.
Oh, it's so bad. I've been trying to do the YouTube videos, and I just look, every time I see it, I just look like a monkey on there.
But can I give you a piece of
you just have to do it.
Advice though on them?
Mm-hmm.
I think that too often you're making them for clients.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that not many of your referrals come from clients.
Mm-hmm.
So make them for lawyers.
I do. And
you started doing that
try.
more.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like that. I like that more. So like if I see your videos come up and it's like, here's 3 tips on what to do before you, I'm like, well, I'm not trying to get divorced. I'm good. But if you said, here are my rules for getting paid. I mean, a lot of people voluntarily paid and showed up to that CLE. Of course they want that video. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So.
starting to do more of those, but yeah, you just have to get over that beginning portion.
Yeah.
And realize I don't even no matter how bad it is, like I just put it up.
Do you really?
Yep. I mean, there are some where I totally mess up and I'll start over.
You'll do a new take.
But
you're not going to
if
not
it's
do
nominally okay,
yeah.
right, then I just put it up there and I don't think about it again because that's the only way you're.
Can I tell you what I have to do to make my newsletter go out? This is embarrassing. So when I finish my draft of the newsletter, I can't send it out. I'm too anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it in MailChimp and I schedule it to go out in like 5 days. And then I go, okay, it's okay. I can schedule it now. I have 5 days that I can change it. I can edit it. Well, I'm lazy and I don't ever edit it, you know? And so when it goes out, I'm always like, oh, I forgot that was going out today. That's the only way I can make it go out. It gets out. But if I had to say, okay, now it's going out, I would never do it. I have to give myself I have to light the fuse and be like, it's okay. I have time. I could put it out anytime I want, and then I never change it.
So your purpose with the newsletter though is really to have a somewhat interesting story that's a little bit different that people read and they just remember your name.
And
right?
Be helpful to their law practice and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not for consulting purposes,
No.
but really it's just to
build a relationship.
This is what you want to hear about, and I'm the guy that's going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I think part of I've never said this explicitly, but I think if I was like, this time I'm going to sell them something, or this time I'm going to affiliate market this other guy's stuff, I think that would violate the contract. Like, I don't think that's the deal that I have with it.
Exactly.
And it's not a huge group of people that I send it to. It's all people that I personally know. So it's not trying to introduce me to people. It's trying to maintain and deepen the relationship with people that I already know.
Yeah.
And if somebody was like, no, thank you, I unsubscribe, I'd be like, that's totally cool.
Yeah, 'cause that's fine.
That's their
We all
prerogative.
have too much stuff.
That's right. That's right. What was the best book you read last year? If you had to pick one. I know that you have like a 5, but I'm saying what's the one?
The one, Catch and Kill
Catch and
by
Kill.
Ronan Farrow.
And is that a business book?
It is not at all.
That's cool.
So it is a book. Ronan Farrow is the one that uncovered Harvey Weinstein.
Oh.
Like hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of people knew about Harvey Weinstein and exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
But they all covered it up because Harvey Weinstein made them lots of money
Scary.
and he's just a complete jackass.
Yeah.
So
Ronan Farrow is a reporter?
yeah, he's a reporter. So he's Mia Farrow's son. Mia Farrow, who is married to Woody Allen.
Okay.
Yep. So he's a reporter, and he was the one that uncovered it, and it's the story of how he uncovered it. And it's absolutely amazingly fascinating, and it's just the saddest thing you've ever heard in your entire life.
Is there any analogy from that helps lawyers, you think?
Oh, wow. What would that be?
Like, I assume there were some reporters that knew what was going on. Why did this guy have the
tons.
courage to publish?
I think part of it was he was already kind of famous. I think a lot of it was he just wanted to do it because he knew this guy was bad, right? And he had no monetary. He didn't get any money from Weinstein. He didn't owe Weinstein anything. There was no real connection with him. Now, NBC that he worked for had a monetary connection with Weinstein, and Weinstein tried to kill it through NBC and almost got it, and really almost got it killed.
Yeah.
Because Weinstein was amazingly connected to everybody. But, I mean, the takeaway that I have is no matter how good you are at what you do, if you're a jerk and you treat people poorly, it is all going to come to an end.
So the avatar for attorneys is more Weinstein than the reporter.
Yeah, I think there's part of it.
Because there's some jerk attorneys.
Yeah, and it's awful. And I mean, I'm sure you can look at it from a number of different ways, but that's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting lesson.
Is no matter how good you are at what you do, no matter how much rain you make, and money and connections and all these things, like if you treat people poorly, it's all going to come back on you, and people are just going to hate you, and it's all going to come to an end at some point.
That's an interesting lesson. I like that lesson. I think about Harvey Weinstein a surprising amount because I defend sexual assault cases.
Never think of Harvey Weinstein.
I do because I have to think about Me Too and how juries think about
that's true.
Sexual assault.
That's true.
You know, so The Atlantic, I think today had an article. I just read it, but I think it came out today. About it was sort of like a history of sexual assault prosecution, like going back way, hundreds of years. And I think kind of the implicit suggestion was that rape prosecution should be much easier.
That's a thing now.
Yeah.
Due process is too much. I've heard this from some quarters.
I mean, I really understand that, but I don't know if I understand the concrete proposal. Do you know what I mean?
There is no concrete proposal.
Yeah.
It's like the most concrete proposal would be preponderance of the evidence. They just make it a civil standard, right, in a criminal trial.
I mean, so
which
they were
never
talking
happen.
about certain evidence rules that have changed that should have changed. They were terrible evidence rules. But I mean, the cases that I'm working on right now, the evidence is so bad, and it feels like the prosecutors feel sort of an obligation to file every one. They've sort of, in my mind, it'd be interesting what a prosecutor would say, but have sort of abdicated their sort of screening role, and instead they're just like, well, if somebody reports it, we're going to file it in a lot of cases. Not every case, but in a lot of cases. And so then I have certain cases where I'm just like, I think the prosecutors probably know they're not going to win, but they're holding my clients on $500,000 bail in the meantime, and it bums me out. It's funny because there is a balance somewhere. I don't know what it is. I'm sure that nobody wants a criminal defense attorney to be striking that balance, but it doesn't feel like we're at it right now.
No, I mean, it's interesting. Again, this is not my area really, but it's going to swing. It's a pendulum, right? And it was really, it was not good, and then it's gone to this side. It's probably swung in some situations it swung too much to the other side, and especially in the kind of kangaroo courts they have in universities, those sexual assault courts, which
like what are they called, Title IX
courts, that have literally absolutely no due process to them at all.
It's funny, I know almost nothing about Title IX process.
Oh, it's so bad. Read. That's one of the things that I'll read those cases, and I'll read write-ups of the due process lawsuits that get into federal court. It is absolutely awful. Like, you read cases from the Soviet Union, and there's not too much difference in the due process between those two.
If we talk about Harvey Weinstein for like 15 more seconds, this video is going to become unusable and our careers.
No. Harvey Weinstein was a scumball, and Ronan Farrow is a hero, and absolutely everything that happened. Like, if this is what you do, it's going to come back on you, and it absolutely should come back on you.
Maybe this is what I kind of feel though. I feel that that Me Too does a really good job of striking the balance in terms of what the burden of proof should be in like employment. You know, if 4 people accuse you of raping them and they don't know each other, and you're like a powerful executive or something, like, you're done. I think that's awesome. Yeah. But one person accuses one person, there's no corroborating evidence. Should they go to prison for the rest of their life? Personally, I'm really uncomfortable with that idea.
Well, yeah, of course not.
It's not to say that it didn't happen, but that's not an amount of proof that I feel comfortable putting that person in prison the rest of their life. I'm very comfortable with them losing their job, though, in situations where I wouldn't feel comfortable with them going to prison. But maybe that's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the pendulum swings. So some, in some senses it's over here a little bit, and in some senses it's still over here. Right. So it'll be interesting to see how it works itself out over time.
2 white guys talking about sexual assault prosecution. This is just what the internet needs.
Might as well talk about it.
It's true. I think about it, and I could be wrong. I mean, I tried to read the article open-mindedly and see, if I could understand. And I feel like I did understand a little bit better that perspective. But there's certain things that I kind of see from my side of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you see it from your side, and I see it from my side as well. I deal with protective orders and domestic violence all the time, and I've literally helped hundreds of women and hundreds of men as well get out of domestic violence situations and make the best of it. Yeah. I have also seen hundreds of times people just straight lie
and abuse the process.
And abuse the process in protective orders. Yeah. I mean, just absolutely lie like rugs. Yeah. And it's super easy to tell. And there's nothing that happens to them whatsoever, besides dismissing a protective order.
In the best case scenario.
Yeah, in the best case.
But the burden is so low that,
Yeah. So, I mean, we're kind of educated on both sides of it. Yeah. It's unfortunate that people lie and use the system or abuse their spouses. It's all the way around.
I agree that's not good.
Yeah. So what's the best or most effective behavior that you've implemented to benefit your clients or your relationship with your clients in the last few years?
I think that I was getting kind of into meditation for a bit. I never really did it, to be honest, because it's really boring.
It's so boring.
But I was reading about it, and I would try it every now and then. And so in meditation, you're focusing on your breath, and when you see your thoughts kind of wandering away from it, you just bring them back. And what I try to do when I'm speaking to a client is to think about the client and not myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if I feel my thoughts wandering away from the client, especially if they're coming back to myself, which is where they go invariably, I try to bring them back to thinking about the client. And so...
Is that during conversations with the client?
Especially,
okay.
Yeah. So I can be really present for them and show my compassion and care for them.
Yep.
And obviously the voice in my head that I have to kind of quiet all the time is, well, how's this going to benefit you? And what do you want? And I have to acknowledge that voice is there, but try to bring my focus and my attention back to, okay, what can I do to help this person right now? Exactly. So and every time from initial consultations with a brand new client to the client that's told me the story 5 times and we're in court and they have to tell me again and I have to focus on them and try to understand why they're telling it to me and so I just feel that I think it's been a little bit transformative in that I sincerely feel more compassion for the clients. They seem to sense that and have responded a lot better. So where 3 years ago, all of my clients were mad, now it's pretty rare for a client to be upset. And so in terms of the equanimity, everybody's just lower stress and we can focus on the things that matter most instead of putting out the fire of the client who's the maddest. And so I think just trying to be really present for them instead of trying to be, think about every conversation, what's in it for me.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed by how much of that I did before.
We're humans. I actually have, so I don't do meditation because my meditation is when I pray to my God, right? That is the closest thing I get to meditation. But trying to shut my brain off or you do whatever you do in meditation, it just doesn't function for me. But I do have a mantra actually that I say before I meet with anybody, and it's give whatever the person's name is, what they need. Give Linda what she needs during this consultation. And it's a way for me to get in the mindset of the consultation, right? Because I've been doing something up to the consultation, thinking about it, and then I say this, and I can get in the mindset, and then I can sit there and listen to what is essentially literally the same story I've listened to over 5,000 times. But Linda needs to tell me that story, and Linda really needs me to understand that, and really needs me to focus on it. And tell her what her emotions are and how she feels about things and how we're going to help her. So that's my mantra.
The worst thing about telephone consultations is your clients can't tell for sure if you're on Facebook.
Yeah.
When you're doing it in person, they'll know. But if you're on the phone and you're hearing that DUI story for the 1,000th time, it's really easy to go on ESPN or go on Facebook
So what was your BAC or whatever?
Right.
No, BA or whatever you call it.
Yeah, BAC. And so so I'm not perfect at that because I sometimes do go on Facebook when I can tell we're going on that track. Sometimes I will kind of do something else, but but when I have had the discipline to be really client focused, my life's better. I feel better at the end of the day that I really gave value to everybody I talked to that day. I feel more connected to my clients. It's all positive.
Yeah, that's great. I think for me, and what we do, it's along the same lines, which is we call all of our clients every Friday, and then Jody, our office manager, sends them a text every Wednesday to kind of see how they're doing. So if they talked on Tuesday or Wednesday, they get a call from their attorney on Friday, right? So it's that constant.
Have I told you my idea on this? I think you might be causing anxiety for some of your clients. Some of your clients probably just want to not think about it and let you guys worry about it. And so I wonder if there's a way to screen, because there are probably clients who really want the updates. So the way we do it is we give all of my clients my cell phone, which I'm not saying you should do, and I quickly can tell which ones need constant updates. And it's 10% of the clients, maybe less. And then the other 90% are just I'm going to go to work, I'm going to take care of my kids, you worry about that, and then when I absolutely have to, you tell me that I have to make a decision. Otherwise, leave me alone. So I wonder if there's a way to screen for the people that really need updates, unless one of the issues is that you need the attorney who's working on the case to sit down and think about it once a week to make sure that deadlines are, the case is, I don't know.
Yeah.
So if there's an internal operations reason for it, maybe that, but.
I think that it's partly that because it focuses the attorneys on the clients and giving them updates all the time, which means that they're doing things during the week, so they have something to tell them on Fridays. In family law, I think it's a little bit different in the sense that our clients really want to communicate and really want to communicate
that could be
consistently.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit different there. And some people do opt out in the sense that they just never pick up the phone.
Right.
Or they pick up the phone every other week or every third week or something like that. That's fine. But what I've noticed is
I wonder if you could just ask them when they start. Like, check here and we'll call you once a week.
Oh, see, I don't give them the option.
But I wonder, like, then you would, the people who care about, or you could opt out. Like, check here if you don't want to be contacted once a week.
What I've noticed, though, is as I've done it, it may cause anxiety in some. I don't know. I've never really had people tell me that. But what I have noticed is when they don't pick up, when they don't want to talk to us, they're almost universally poor clients.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and I have a joke when I'm kind of going through the close with people and getting them to hire me. I'll talk about communication and I'll tell them this is exactly how we communicate. This is what we do. Are you okay with that? And I have them say yes. And they say yes, and I say okay.
Do you video all of this?
No, I don't.
So you can clip that out and put it in a.
I audio record all of them, but I get to the point they say yes.
Wait, you audio record all of your consultations?
Uh huh.
Do you transcribe them?
No.
Have you thought about transcribing them?
Yes.
Like sending them to some service for whatever it is, $1 a minute or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. You can do that. I don't because I really want the attorneys, because that audio then goes to the attorneys when they hire, right?
I hate listening to audio.
I know. Everybody kind of does. But I think there's something very useful in it in the sense that you
Hearing
never miss anything and you hear the tone of the person. You get to know the person that you're listening to the way you don't when you read a transcript.
That's interesting. Because one of the really hard things is if there's a separate person doing the sign-up and another person doing the case, that handoff is precarious.
Yes, very.
And sometimes it's just a lack of, like, this person doesn't know that this person said something in the initial consultation. So by recording it and then that person listening to it, then they know that was promised, or, that an expectation was set, or whatever it was, or that was really important. Whereas if you've got to remember, write it down and send it to them, that may get lost in the shuffle. Yeah. That's genius. Yeah. That's really interesting. Because I, for a long time, thought that in criminal it's almost impossible to do that handoff. And I wonder if it's just that we needed to record the consultation.
No, you can do it. You absolutely can. I have a rule that I don't remember anything.
You're just not even going to try.
Because I'm not going to try. Because I just have too much stuff. I've literally met with thousands of people and helped hundreds and thousands of people through this process.
I'm always surprised when I do remember something from the initial consultation.
It's very difficult, so we don't remember anything. Like we either write it down or we record the thing. That's it.
That's really interesting. I didn't even think about that. Sorry, I interrupted you though. Do you remember what you were going to say when I interrupted you and said, wait, you record?
Oh, yeah. So I get to the point where we talk about the communication and then I have them tell me yes, they're okay with that, they like that. And then I tell them it's a joke, but it's not really a joke. They say, well, good, because if you didn't like that, I don't want you as a client.
But you mean it.
Then I'm totally mean it. Yeah.
So it's not a joke at all. There's nothing.
No. So, but they laugh at it, and I smile when I say it because I don't want to be want to be a dork about it. But I'm letting them know we're going to talk to you. And this is our system, and if you don't like it, then go find somebody else.
What's cool? What I like about Brown Law is that you guys are not a halfway. Like, you guys do this, and if you want this, we're the only people who do it. So you can have it, but you have to come to us. If you don't want this, we're not going to change what we are to accommodate it. We do this. And I think that's really clean and cool. I wish, it's interesting. We one time had a cool conversation about, like, how much should you specialize? Like, how do you know when you've gotten to the right fit? Yeah. And you were like, you don't. You just keep trying stuff. And I was like, oh, shoot. I was wishing you'd have some formula.
Well, I mean, whatever makes you more money, I guess, if you want to do it that way.
I mean, it's a good indicator. Yeah. But you might say, but I just really like these cases, and then you could just, it's up to you. You get to pick, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. We don't want you as a client then. Yeah, that's cool.
people like to hear that. We have a few rules like that. Like we don't take cases that have had attorneys before. I make exceptions every once in a while to that, but by and large, we just don't take cases that have had attorneys before. And it seems like almost invariably when we do that, like they want it, like we tell them that, and they either get upset by it or they want us all that much more.
Right. Right. I think that we probably need to do a better job in initial consultations at making it a mutual interview instead of a sales pitch. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's better for everybody if it's that way. You know, if I used to, for a while, I would ask the clients, what are you looking for in an attorney? And I found that no one could answer that question, so I stopped asking it. But because they
want you as an attorney. Like,
well, they don't know that yet. Like, this is the first time we're talking.
They're not able to articulate that in any way, shape, or form.
So, like, I think my kind of replacement of that is I ask, sort of, what do you want to get out of this? Like, what result do you want? What's a win for you?
Yeah.
And then talk about when I have been able to do that in other cases and what we did and what the approach looks like.
So you give them some sort of proof, right? Social proof.
Yeah.
Or, this is how we've done this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like one of our mantras is, I can't predict the future for you. Mantra's probably not the right word. I'm stealing that word from you. But like one of the things that we repeat is, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future, but I can tell you with perfect honesty exactly something that happened in the past.
Yeah.
So if you say, can you win my domestic violence case? I can't tell you yes or no because that's in the future. But I can tell you about domestic violence cases I've won in the past. And then I'm going to tell you every case is a little different, but that's what we're going to try to make happen in your case, and we know we can do that because we've done it in the past. Does that make sense? So, but going back to the mutual interview idea, though, just like of saying, like, maybe a way to do it is to say, when I'm looking to decide if I'm going to work with someone, here's what I need to see from them, and kind of make them audition that. Like, so is that you? If it's not you, that's cool. We don't need to work together. And so one of the things that I've said is, I only work with people for whom this case is really, really important.
Yeah.
So it could be a minor case, like a pot possession case or something where you're not going to go to jail or something. But if it's the difference between you keeping custody of your kids or not, or keeping your job or not, then I'm going to treat it like a homicide case. And if you've got a homicide case, but you've got 500 felonies on your record and you don't care anymore, then it's not going to be important to me either, and I don't want to work on that case. You know. So something that I've started to do is say, is this important to you? Because I only work with people who really care about the outcome. If you don't care about the outcome, then find somebody cheaper. There's tons that are cheaper.
Yeah.
And then it kind of makes them say, no, this is really important to me, or I don't have any money, no thank you. It's a good screening question, I think.
Yeah, we kind of do the same thing. We don't even allow cases to sit. Like, we fire clients when they don't want to move their case forward. If they don't talk to us for 2-3 weeks, a month, or something like that, we'll just send them a letter saying, hey, we're out in 7 days unless we get a call from you. And it's that same kind of thing. Like,
I love it.
Well, I mean, it's a little nicer than that, right?
I almost never fire clients.
Really?
It's such a hassle.
Why is it a hassle?
Because I gotta file for a motion to withdraw, and I've gotta do all this invoice for the client. So more often than not, I just try to figure out, okay, what could I have done to screen this person out? I'm just not gonna ever take somebody like this in the future.
Yeah.
But I finished this person's case, or I just give them all their money back and say, never talk to me again.
Yeah, I'm making it seem like we fire people kind of willy-nilly. We don't at all. We really try to do what's best for our clients. But sometimes, either they don't want to move forward with the case, or something's irretrievably broken, or they're just not paying. Not paying, they're going to get fired. Yeah. That's just the way that goes. Yeah. But the rest of it, we really try to work with them. But I'm not terribly shy about it, because if it's not working with us, then just go find somebody it works with, right? Maybe it works with Jacqueline Robertson. Maybe it works with, Jessica Cowser. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go try it out.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get people to the right fit. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been great. Thank you very much.
I can't imagine that anyone would watch this whole thing.
No, I doubt it. But it's been great. It's been great.
I agree. This is crappy.
Well, it's like a book, right? Like I don't read, but this is the way I think about books. I don't read books because I want to learn and understand everything in the book. I read a book because I want a $1 million idea out of a book.
Do you finish every book you start?
Almost every book I start. The exception of Moby Dick, which is a piece of garbage.
I've never read Moby Dick, so I can't say.
It's absolutely terrible. But no, I finish almost every book I begin.
I do too, and I kind of feel like that's a character failing in me. Like, I wish I had the courage earlier on to say, this book is bad, and put it down. I'll be like, oh, but maybe something in the last chapter. No, if they had something good, they would put it in the first chapter.
And part of it for me is I'm looking for that $1 million idea. And whether it's $1 million idea, it doesn't have to be monetary, right? It could be $1 million idea in Les Mis, all 1,200 pages of Les Mis.
Right.
Or it could be a business book or something like that. I just want that one nugget that is going to make my life significantly better.
Yeah. Les Mis is so good.
Oh, it's amazing.
So good.
Have you read The Unabridged?
I've read half of The Unabridged, and not because I was like, it's bad. I actually got to the part about the urchins in Paris, like a history of beggars in Paris, and I was like, I'm out. Like, there's so much good stuff in here, but
Did you get to the convent in Paris? Like the 100 pages of life in a convent? I think
there was one digression, though, that he just says at the beginning, I'm going to do a digression now. Mm-hmm. It's not going to have anything to do with the plot, and it doesn't affect anything. But I'm going to tell you everything I know about the Battle of Waterloo. And it was fantastic.
Yep.
That was a fantastic digression. But I just wasn't interested at all in these beggars, and so I kind of pulled the ripcord. I think I might, it's been like a couple of years now, so I might get the abridged now that I know what is in store in the unabridged. But I own the unabridged because there's a couple of quotes that I use a lot from the part that I did read.
Yeah. It is, I read that my 1L year.
Really?
Because I didn't have enough to read in law school at the time, so I read it.
Law school's the worst.
Yeah, and it was amazing. It's still one of my favorite books of all time. But yeah, there's a part in there where I think it goes on for 97 pages about life in a convent in Paris in the 1830s. And I remember thinking to myself, this is some of the most boring stuff I've ever read, because it's a convent in Paris in the 1830s.
I think I did get that part now that I think about it. I don't think I minded that part as much.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. It was so boring. But I was going to read every word of that book.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
I expect you to hand transcribe this and send me a copy.
Okay, that will never happen. I'll give you the video link.
Thank you.